सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः। भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः। स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः। स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः। स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः। स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। So we'll start the second mantra today. So just to repeat the first mantra, just to pronounce it. Excuse me. Om ityetadakshara idagum sarvam tasya upavyakyanam bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkara eva yaccha anyat trikalaatitam tadapi omkara eva. So that was mantra number 1. Now the second mantra today. Sarvagum hi etad brahma ayamatma brahma so ayamatma chatushpad. Sarvam hi etad brahma. So just the word meanings first, and then we'll look at the sentence meaning. Sarvam etad hi brahma. All this, all that I experience in my life, and because of the first verse, not only what I'm experiencing now, but whatever I experienced in the past and whatever I will experience in the future. Bhuvat bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkara eva. And you can say that the next one, which is yaccha anyat trikalaatitam tadapi omkara eva. Whatever there is happening, either with me or somebody else, everything is really omkara. That is, it gets encapsulated by the word om. So this is what is summarized here. He says, Sarvam hi etad brahma. So this is just the word meaning. We'll look at the real meanings, the sentence meaning a little bit later. Sarvam hi etad brahma. Then a very shocking statement. Ayam Atma Brahma. Ayam Atma Brahma means this me, this aham that we talked about, one of the words of I, is Brahma. This is what we have to see. This is what the whole life is about this, as we will slowly discover. Ayam Atma Brahma. Saha Ayam Atma Chatushpat. That this Atma has 4 parts, 4 quarters. This is the statement. of the second mantra. So having said that, let us look at it. So here, in commenting on this particular verse, Adi Shankara, in his Bhashya, says, Sarvam yaduktam omkaram, Sarvam yaduktam omkara matram iti tate tad brahma. So I've already explained that. Then he says, Tatcha brahma paroksha abhihitam pratyakshataha visheshena nirdishati ayamatma brahma. So this is an important, a very important statement given by Adi Shankara in the explanation of what the particular second mantra does. So he says, Tat Brahma. Which Brahma? Which Brahma? Sarvam yad uktam onkara matramiti. In the first mantra. That Brahma, pardon me, that Brahma paroksha abhihitam nirdishya. Now pratyakshataha visheshena nirdishati. This is an important thing. So we'll some time on it. So here's the thing. First of all, we've seen it already in the last few classes. How would you define Brahman? How would you characterize? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? If someone has already explained a little bit of it, and we have, otherwise it's just a word Brahman, it doesn't mean anything. But as we have seen that once the abhidhana and abhidheya are connected together, just like a parent will tell a child, this is a table. This is called a table. So that is the nama, and the rupa is the table. So similarly here, the Brahman is the name, and so that's the vastu. And so the question is, what is the vastu itself? What is the abhidheya, not the abhidhana? The abhidheya of Brahman, and I would suggest to you that from now on, hopefully once we understand this, anytime the word Brahma comes in, your mind understands this meaning. What meaning? The Brahman is complete, lacking nothing. Purna, Purnadaf, Purnamidam, Purnat eva pradhas. Purna means complete. This is what Brahman is. And the Vyavaharika Sat of the Brahman is Ishvara. So Ishvara also, you can say, is nothing but, just like, for example, the name of the whole ocean is called ocean. And the content of the ocean is water. So the water and the ocean are not different. But the ocean could be called Ishvara. And the water is called Brahman. So they're one and the same. So Brahman means a completeness. And you can say a sense of completeness later. We will see how the sense of completeness is. Because, see, this is interesting. Nothing in the world that I experience is complete. Nothing is complete. That's our experience. It all changes. It all lacks something. I don't see what completeness means. And yet, in our thinking, our hope, our Shraddha, there is something called complete, which is Bhagavan, which is Ishvara, God. So we have a kind of a sense. So look at the logic of this. Please follow this. So the logic is that Ishvara must be complete, because I cannot even begin to define Ishvara if Ishvara, Brahman, if it is lacking in something. That's not Ishvara. That means there is some other competitor. That also is not a sense of completeness. A completeness means lacking nothing. So we have this kind of an idea. So when we say that where is God, then where is God means the defined definition of God is a completeness. Now comes the next logic. So let's follow this. The next part of the logic is maybe there is Ishvara. We all have a soft corner. And there are people who are atheists, who say, no, there is no God or nothing. This just happens by itself. But okay, apart from that, everyone has some kind of, even an atheist, I think, in their own inner experience and meaning, would say, I'm saying that there's no God, but maybe there is. So that's the atheist. But the rest of us feel that there is some kind of a God who is different from this world, because this world is incomplete and God must be complete. Now, here comes the next part of the logic. Just look at this. We find that Ishvara may be complete. There may be some entity, some vastu, some dravya called Ishvara, which is complete, Brahman, which is complete, but I don't know where it is. I don't have a sense of completeness that I can see. So whenever we just, excuse me, so we are busy going around in our lives, just working every day, getting up in the morning, going to sleep, working, this, that, or the other. We are busy. And we are dealing with incompleteness, both in the world outside as well as in myself. This is our experience. But deep down below, we say there is God. There is some sense, there is some completeness. But where is that completeness? I don't know. This is called parokshata. Parokshata means I don't know where it is, but it may be somewhere. This is my logic. This is an idiotic logic. A very idiotic logic. I mean, this is what we are doing. We hang on to idiotic logic. Many times in Vedanta, people say very truly, they don't say this is idiotic logic. They'll say, as the holder of idiotic logic, you are an idiot. I know Swami Devanji, when he wouldn't call the audience idiot, but when he's giving an example, he will say, idiot! And we used to cringe. It's a very strong word, We used to cringe. Why is he calling idiot? But this is an idiotic logic. He's right. Swamiji was absolutely correct. Shastra is correct. And it is an idiotic logic because on one hand, I say that Brahman is complete, and on the other hand, I say it is paroksha. Isn't it? This is opposite to each other. It is just like saying Ishvara is white, but I think he is black. This is the logic. So this is what Adi Shankara is saying. He's saying, okay, so in the Etaditi Brahman is abhihitam, it is nirdishya, it is shown to be a paroksha vastu. So oftentimes the Shastra, for example, even in the case of karma and jnanam and so on, so for example, in the Bhagavad Gita and other Shastras, this is a very, very important thing to understand, that karma and jnanam are not opposed to each other. So people that think that, oh, he's just a karmi, no, he doesn't understand what he's doing, and real stuff is in jnanam and so on. This is not right. So the karma is the first step in jnanam, and especially karma yoga, not normal karma. Even normal karma is also a mini step. But once you understand the value of doing your job properly, with not worrying about am I happy, unhappy, you just do it and continue to study, that kind of a karma is in fact the first step of jnanam. So this is exactly the whole message of the Bhagavad Gita. And this was the discussion between Krishna and Arjuna, where Arjuna said, you are extolling jnanam, and you are asking me to do karma. That means you don't want the best for me? I'm not your student. I came to you. Krishna says, no. And he has to give this message very carefully. It's not as though I don't think, but the thing is, at this stage of your life, this is what he's saying. This stage of the life means that you keep on doing this, and at that point your mind will become sattvic, and you will say, what am I doing? What's happening? That stage hasn't reached yet. You are still, karta bhokta, keep doing it. So therefore, parokshata. So why do we take that Brahma is paroksha? Because it simply, and so going back to the Gita, and then I'll come back to this in a minute. So in the Bhagavad Gita and other Shastras also, the Vedas say wherever the student is, what stage the student is, I want to endorse that. Then you cannot just say this is stupid. So the word idiot and etc. stupid is usually used for people who can stand it, who have really studied it enough. If we would sit in Swami Dayanandaji's classes, and if he says that we are stupid, then we say, well, we deserve it, really. It's a shock to us. But supposing there is a person who has just walked in. In fact, this is interesting. I remember taking a friend to listen to Swami Dayanandaji. And one of those things that Swami Dayananda was very, very famous for and very used to he uses a lot of jokes in his, much more than Swami Chinmayananji. Swami Chinmayananji would give some examples here and there, but he was much more straightforward in terms of giving the message. Swami Dayanand, on the other hand, is really more of an entertainer. And so he would give all kinds of jokes and so on. And he makes everybody laugh and then captures them. That's his methodology of teaching. So I took this friend to the ashram one time. And from the West Coast, we went all the way. And after listening to him and so on, after being there for a while, I asked him, I said, what did you think? And I must say, he was disappointed. So he didn't say that in so many words, but I could sense the feeling that he's disappointed. So I says, why? He said he spent most of the time joking around. I want something very serious. So I could understand his viewpoint. Everybody has a certain viewpoint. So the Shastra says that first I just want to endorse you. So when Swami Dayanand gives jokes, then he gives examples from everybody's life, and people will say, yes, when somebody laughs, that means, yes, that's me, or that's how I understand the things to be. You already endorsed it. Then bring the person up to the next level. Similarly here, Shastra says, you cannot say that Brahman, as we will see, the idiotic logic will become apparent later. But right now it says, Etad Brahma, Etad hi Sarvam hi Etad Brahma means it is Parokshataya. It is not something that I understand that there is some sense of completeness, but I don't know where it is. It's called Parokshataya, Paroksha Jnanam. But that has to be corrected. So now the second verse, the second mantra corrects the idiotic nature of that logic. And it says, my dear, do you see that Brahman, if it is complete, cannot be other than you? I am Atma Brahma. This is the completeness. And of course, I am not ready to accept it. But whether I am ready to accept the truth or not, the truth has to be told. You cannot give me a faulty endorsement forever. It's like telling a child, here's Swami Akhandananda's Viri, and I really found that example to be so beautiful. I'll bring it up again and again. So, we know that Akasha has no color. And yet, the Akasha appears to be blue. So if you have a young 2-year-old, and you bring him and he says, by that time the 2-year-old knows what is blue, what is yellow, what is green. And you tell, what is the color of the Akasha, of the space? The youngster will say it is blue. Now you're not going to tell him, you're such a stupid fellow, I cannot believe it. There's no color and you're seeing blue in it. No. You will say, Shabash, wonderful. You know how to identify colors, wonderful. But suppose you are 21 years of age. You just graduated from a top college and you say, what is the color of the space? And if he says it's blue, then you won't call him an idiot, but you will think, what is? So here's the thing. It all depends on where we are in the stage of it. So in this stage, the Shastra says, this is paroksha. Completeness is a paroksha, is accepted for the time being. Otherwise, because the alternative is that it is there is no completeness at all. Because there is completeness. But I don't know where it is. Then it says, by the way, it is you. So now we go to the next stage of the logic. The next stage of the logic is that even though the Shastra says that you are the completeness, but I don't see that. I don't see that. I'm not complete. I don't feel complete. I feel incomplete most of the time. Not most, all the time. So by just pointing out the mistake, I'm not any wiser. So here, now look at this logic. If Brahman is completeness, Purna, infinite, truth, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, if Brahman is that, it can never be paroksha. Never. Not possible. Because as we were saying, it's just like saying, it may be infinite, but it's not me. So this logic is totally faulty. So follow this logic for a minute. This logic is totally faulty. Absolutely faulty. By its very presentation, it is faulty. It's like saying infinity is like finity, is like not infinity. Infinity is not infinity. What? This is stupid. That part is there. But if you say that infinity is in fact you, and you don't feel that way, you don't have that experience, then we have a new thing. What is a new thing? Because at least it is possible, but I don't get it. You see the next step of the logic? One step of the logic is that there are several steps of the logic. First step is that there is a possibility of completeness. Secondly is that the completeness is not I. So there I should see the fallibility of that logic, that cannot happen. Then the next stage is completeness is I, but I don't feel that way. I don't understand that. I don't get it. There the logic is there is a possibility that it may be true. Because in the second step, it is impossible. It's like saying black is equal to white. That doesn't make any sense. But in the last one, there's a possibility that it is me, but I don't get it. This is where the Shastra now proceeds further, as we will see. But right away, it doesn't beat around the bush by saying, yes, it's always paroksha, it's always paroksha. No, it wants to dispel the idiotic nature of that logic right away by saying, Brahman is you. I am Atma Brahman. So this is what Adi Shankara is saying. See that? So that statement, let's read it again. Tatcha Brahma Paroksha Abhihitam Pratyakshataha Visheshena Nirdishati Ayam Atma Brahman. So that means that, and so this will this will be taken up. This is really the important logic that will be followed. That really speaking, Brahman has to be you, and anything else is also Brahman. If it is in another planet, it's also Brahman. If it is on the other side of this planet at this time in India, it is also Brahman. Where it is dark, it is Brahman. Where it is light, it is Brahman. Everything is really nothing but Brahman. This has to be understood, including you. As this point, this jiva, who has a feeling this is just me, is also Brahman. How it is, this is what we have to see. So that's the definition of aham. So the aham means that starting with the letter a, going all the way to ha, and na jahati, aham, cannot be gotten rid of. You can never say, no, I am not Brahman. Okay, prove it. We can prove it to you that you're Brahman, but you cannot prove that I'm not Brahman. It's not possible. And in fact, I'm sure that I will go back to this again and again. But just look at the beautiful logic of this. Okay. This is a very important thing, and when I understood this, that made a difference in my estimation of myself and estimation of the world, my understanding, all of that. Really, once I understood this, I don't know when it happened, but it happened, which is this. So I might as well just tell you that now, and we will come back to it again and again, because I think I've seen that in the Karika, with all the verses and so on, it's mostly consolidation. We should probably not expect that in the study, everything new thing is going to come up. Every chapter will be new, and some new things will come up. Of course, the basics, we do not have a complete understanding of it, so some of the arguments, some of the concepts may appear to be new. Yes, will come up. But most of that, you know what it is? I might as well just tell you, is consolidation. I wouldn't call it repetition. Repetition would be you ask, you say something and the other person says, what did you say? I didn't hear you. That's repetition. But consolidation means some simple facts that is presented in different ways, because our doubts are also multidimensional. So all those dimensions have to be taken up. All I'm saying is, what I'm about to tell you, this is maybe a new concept, I don't know. You may already know this, but these kinds of concepts will be taken up again and again as a way of consolidation, because our mind refuses to accept it. This is going to be the biggest issue. He just refuses. He says, no, I know, I hear what you're saying, but. So, this is exactly like Arjuna telling Krishna. This is what happens in the various chapters. I know you're telling me this, but. So Krishna says, but what? Yeah, but Krishna said, think about it. That's exactly right. I know, but. So this kind of a dialogue, happens. Okay, now here's the thing. This is the thing that really, once I understood this, blew my mind, honestly. So this pertains, this parokshata and aparokshata. Once I grasped it, I said, my goodness, now I understand what Shastra is telling me. So just look at this. Do you know, can you see? So when I say, I'm going to say this several times, can you see? When I say this, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not putting you down that you cannot see this. No. Because it is just something which is truth and obvious, but we miss it. So it's okay not to see it, but eventually we must see this. Here's what it is. I keep beating around the bush. Do you know, / can you see that you, yes, you, are the only thing in the whole creation which is always there? If there is Sat, Swarupa, if there is truth, timeless truth, independent truth, not truth which is conditioned on when, where, under what condition. No, unconditional yes. If there is a truth like this, and there is, it must be me. It must be you. You are the only timeless Vastu in the whole world. Not even Ishvara. And if you're bothered by not even Ishvara, let Ishvara be you. It's the same thing. You are the only timeless. This is the truth. Not only is this the truth, but see the logic of it. If there is a truth like this, it can only be me. That is the logic. So remember in the last class, we had talked about it, I think in the Tuesday night class maybe. I think it was in the Tuesday night class or something. Anyway, so by the way, talking of the Tuesday night class, I was just looking at the statistics. So I find that in the last Saturday class, 1 week later, I see about more than 100, maybe 110 people have visited that class. So I don't know if some people see it again, that is counted twice. So I don't know any of those statistics. But anyway, I'm just giving you the rough numbers. It's about, I think, 110. I saw that this morning. And the last Tuesday night class was 65 people have seen it. Okay, so which is good. I'm glad that so many people were able to see that. but also means that some people have not seen it. Okay? And so that's an issue. If, how will you see that later? What will you be missing? So I don't know what to do. That's something you have to tell me, and then we will proceed further based on that. But so I think what I had mentioned was that in the Tuesday night class, in the last Tuesday class, that there are three things that I have to rely on in order to ascertain the truth about something. Three things. And you know what that is by now. In fact, let me just kind of keep my mouth shut for a minute, have you think about it. Hope you are following it. Again, my advice would be that you look at the notes from the previous class very quickly before this class so that your mind is freshened up. So there were three things. And what were those? Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. So because the logic sometimes can be faulty. The logic can be faulty. Science is a logic and it is faulty. So this is what is called, it's interesting, the word logic in Shastra, in Sanskritam, is also called tarka. So sometimes it is called yukti, sometimes it is called tarka. So the tarka is a negative sense and a yukti is a positive sense. So the logic can be positive or it can be negative. Like for example, tarka means to cut. That's the real meaning of the word tarka. Means that it is defeatable, it is cuttable. So, for example, the Newtonian science has been cut by the Einsteinian science. And the Einsteinian science may also be cut again. It's not the final truth. They have no idea about what consciousness is and so on, what is the basic of the world. But the science is also floundering. This is called yukti, but the yukti means that there is at least some goodness to it. It's not all bad. So anyway, all three of them have to be used. I have to use Shruti means what is the real truth about my experience about the world? Only Vedas can tell. People will say, what? Nobody else? We would love to have some company. Somebody that is just as profound, uncuttable as Vedas, but we don't. So Shruti means a voice of authority. So this is number one. Then the second one is yukti. Yukti means logic. Okay? So the logic means, this is where I was talking about earlier, that the stage of the logic is that if there is some completeness, then it must be me. But I don't see it. So there is some logic in it. Then comes Anubhava. And what I had mentioned in the last class, or last couple of classes, I think, that of course the Shruti is the one that makes me wise enough to understand this. But between Yukti and Anubhava, which one is stronger? Anubhava. Anubhava is stronger because that's my own personal experience. Now I can bring that concept back into what I was saying earlier, which is you are, if there is a possibility, just look at, I hope you follow the power of this truth. Hope I can communicate that to you. It's not that I'm not blaming you. Hope you can follow means that you cannot follow this. I'm not saying that, please. I'm just saying that I hope you and I, sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu. I hope I can communicate this to you. Something that I see. I didn't see for a long time, but I see it now. And that is, if there is a possibility of completeness, it must be me. This is the anubhava. I'm sorry, this is the logic. This is the yukti. Okay, so let's divide that. The division is that this is the yukti. Yukti is that if there is completeness, then it must be me. You can, if you want to modify it, you can say it must include me. Okay, that is acceptable for now. Eventually, you cannot even say that it must include me. Because even in the statement that it includes me, that means I am many things. So the Advaita will have a hani. Advaita will be, you cannot do that. It's Advaita means ekam eva Advaitam. So it is me. That is the logic. So look at the logic of that. The logic is, the yukti is, if there is some completeness, then it must be me. This is the logic. What is the anubhava? This you have to see directly. My God, I am the only thing which is non-dismissible. Don't you see this? Everything else is dismissible. Sights are dismissible. People are dismissible. Birth and death, night, morning, situations, jobs, marriages, dismissible. You're the only thing which is non-dismissible, which is independent of time, independent of desha. This is the anubhava. My God, I am timeless. And if this anubhava is immediately followed by some doubts, that's okay, because we have to remove those doubts. Because this anubhava is that I am timeless. But then the next thing that your mind says is, but wait a second. I cannot be timeless because I was born. Okay, so you are kalushi kritam. You have soiled your understanding by some doubts. Those have to be removed. But the basic fact is that you are timeless. And yes, it is now soiled by some doubts. Doubts can be removed. But the vastu itself can never be removed. So in fact, so this is what the Mandukya and Karika is proceeding on. This is what, so Adi Shankara made this very beautiful statement right away. He says that Etadhi Brahman is to consolidate is the consolidating of the Paroksha Vastu, Brahman, the sense of completeness, which is not you. But then immediately it says it has to be you. Ayam Atma Brahman. And then it proceeds further because, in fact, one can say that the entire Upanishad and the Karika, which can be in the form of a Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, that is a Mahavakya. Ayam Atma Brahma is Tattvamasi. Aham Brahmasmi. Done. There's nothing more to be done after the Mahavakya, nothing needs to be done. You can close the book and go home. That's it. Classes are finished and so on. Just sit down and meditate and you're done. But what happens is, even though this maybe you get some glimpses of it, maybe you get the whole thing, I don't know. I would be very happy if you send me an email and saying, I really understood everything you're saying and I'm done. Please remove me from your email list. But what happens is people say, sounds kind of interesting, but this is exactly how our mind works. It puts some spokes in the wheel, but only temporarily. And so the Karika continues on, second, third, even the Mandukya continues on for 12 verses. Karika continues on for 200 verses. Why? Because it has to consolidate and remove all the doubts. But the one thing that I would like you to take from this last portion of the class is this. This is what I think I'd like to just leave on this, kind of like on this class, is that out of the two stages of the understanding, two stages meaning, one stage is that there is completeness, but it's not me. This is one stage. The second stage is there is completeness and it's me, but there is some kind of an obstruction that I don't see that. These are the two things. Keep that in mind. The first one is truly idiotic. The second part of the logic is understandable. You see, this you just please at least, you may not allow me to at least communicate that very simple fact. It took me some while to kind of sort it out. This is what vichara means. There is nothing else that is needed in grasping all this. It's only vichara, thinking, logic, thinking. And at least this part you should understand. So let me repeat it. I think I am hoping I'm not boring you on this. But you see the thing that I'm saying? That one is totally idiotic. Just like black is equal to white. It's not. They're opposites. So to say that there is completeness but it doesn't include me is completely faulty logic. A much less of a faulty logic is to say, yes, it must be me, but I don't get it. That's okay. And this is how the rest of the Karika and Mandukya proceeds. So this, of course, has many aspects of it. So here Swami Akhindananda in his commentary and so on points out a number of different things. I'm just trying to now summarize it. So basically, there are three things that all based on Satyam Jnanam Anantam or Satchidananda that needs to be explored in those three channels, three different ways to explore. So for example, through Viveka and Vairagya, so what happens is that the Sat has to, so look at just the Sat aspect of it. So Sat aspect of that is that everything appears to be changing. But in the understanding of Ayam Atma Brahman, it means that there is an unchangeable aspect of that which is nothing but me. So now you distinguish between Sat and Asat. A corollary to this, you see, a corollary to this is that the Asat is really something which is not an independent asat, but it is a dependent sat. See, asat means the sat means the one which is always there, as we saw that I am the sat, as we saw a little bit earlier. I can be the only one that is the sat. Now the question is, what about the asat that I see? Because I see asat. Even in my own faulty understanding of who I am, I see asat. That's very obvious that my asat is only not 24 hours a day, it is only 8 hours or 16 hours a day. The rest of them is I am a different person. So even I am, my own estimation is asat. But if I am the sat, then what about the asat? What's the independent nature of it? That will be explained later, that it is in fact, it is dependent on the sat. So it is not totally removed from the sat, not totally removed from you. In fact, it is nothing your own form. So this is the sat aspect of it. Now comes the chit. So the chit meaning, jnanam, means awareness. So there the same exploration will take place, that what you see as asat is also inert. There's no truth to it. So here the examples of the dream will be brought in much more clearly. And that is saying that even the things that you see in the dream, and similarly the things that we see in our waking state, essentially, because they are seen, therefore they are inert. And you are the only one who is non-inert. Jnanam, Chit Swarupam. So there the exploration would be, just like in the Sat and Asat, the exploration was between the quality of beingness and non-beingness. Here the Viveka will be between awareness and inertness. Then the third aspect will be Anantam, Anandam. In the Anandam, the Viveka will be that just like the Asat and the varying Jada, inertness, Ananda also seems to be broken up. So sometimes I'm sukhi, sometimes I'm dukhi. Sometimes the world appears to be conducive to me, other times it is creating problems for me. And so there is a variation of ananda in the way I look at things, including my own mind, because my mind and the world are interacting. And if I'm eating ice cream, then my mind is happy. If I'm eating bitter gourd Karela, then my mind is not happy, even though it is supposed to be good for me. And so similarly, if a doctor treats me and gives me dukkha, I don't like it, but it is good for me. So there is variation in sukha dukkha, variation. But it all comes in, it is also a part of anatma. Atma, on the other hand, this is the part that I don't quite get it yet, but I will, is pure ananda. Because it is ekam, advitiyam, ananda swarupam. So that analysis, three-part analysis, Sat, Chit and Ananda, or Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Anantam is Ananda. Anantam is Ananda. Because any limitation is Anananda. It's a non-Ananda. Any kind of competition I don't like. I don't want any limitations. Unlimitedness is Ananda. So along with my non-understanding that I am Sat Swarupam, I feel that I am Asat Swarupam. But once I correct that, once I see that, then all three aspects are interrelated and all three of them get solved at the same time. Swami Dayananji gave this. It's a, kind of like an example which was, I remember it was kind of interesting at that time. But he says, in the Muslim religion, you can marry many times, 4 times, I think. So you can have 4 wives existing at the same time, which is a very interesting thing. Can you imagine four living with 4 wives? What is an idiotic thing is even one spouse is a problem. You have to interact and make peace, and to have 4 spouses. So anyway, Swamiji said that, so there was this Muslim guy in India that had 4 wives. And then he unfortunately died. So when he died, the question is, which of his spouses became a widow first? The first one that he married, the second one that he married, third one, or the fourth one? So he says that question is idiotic, because all 4 of them, even though their marriage had a sequence, but the death of becoming a widow has no sequence, instantaneous. So similarly here also, you may have separate issues with Sat, separate issues with Chit, separate issues with Ananda. But once you understand how this takes place, a single solution takes care of all of them. This is Advaita Vedanta. So anyway, all this was commented on with Swami Akhandananda Ji. Okay, so I do want to mention one other thing. This is an important thing to see in the way the Karika is written. So 9:35. Yeah, I think I can finish this in the next 7-8 minutes. And the only thing that I would not take up in this class, which we will do in the next one, is the statement Ayam Atma Chatushpad. Saha Ayam Atma Chatushpad. That it has 4 parts. And so that's a very interesting discussion, because if the Atma is a singular thing, how can it have 4 parts? What does it mean by that? This is going to be an interesting thing. And this is how the Karika and the Mandukya tackles the doubts about my being timeless. So the Chatushpadatvam will come later, so we will look at that. But for now, let me point out one other thing that Swami Akhandananda decides. It comes up in different places at different times, but here he brings it up, so let me discuss it. This is an important thing. So it says that in the establishment of the Viveka between all 3 parts, Sat Chit and Ananda, the Shastra usually follows one of 2 methods. And each Shastra has some method that it employs. Okay? So in this particular case, even though Swami Akhandananda highly values the text called Panchadashi, highly values it, he just keeps it very, he says it's a very good summary that Swami Vidyaranya, he thinks is just a great contribution that Swami Vidyaranya has done. Even though he does that, he points out that he uses a different prakriya than the one that is used in the Karika. Well, let me point that out. So there are 2 methods. This is called prakriya, also called pranali, as I've mentioned it before. Those are Sanskrit words. Prakriya or pranali means a methodology of explanation. There are 2 of them. One of them is to use the microcosmic aspect. Okay? So this is called Vyashti or Tvampada Lakshya, Tvampada Vachya, in fact. Tvampada Vachya. One which is a direct meaning of the word Tvam, means you. I don't have to be. I don't know why I'm wearing this. I don't need this. So one is the Viveka done at the Vyashti level, at the individualistic level. How is that Viveka done? This is what is called Panchakosha Viveka. You start with the body, Annamaya Kosha. So this is best done in Taittiriya Upanishad and also elsewhere. And then you proceed to something which is more inside. So from Annamaya Kosha, you go to Pranamaya Kosha. From Pranamaya Kosha, you go to Manomaya Kosha, the covering of the mind. So these are actually mistakes in that man. Kosha means a kind of like a covering of the truth, a mistake, a point of mistake. So Annamaya Kosha means that I am the body. This is one level of mistake. The next level of mistake is all the physiological functions. Pranamaya Kosha, I am breathing, and so on. And so here also I'm seeing. So the functions of the body. Pranamaya Kosha. Then the Manomaya Kosha, my thoughts, my doubts. Then the Vijnanamaya Kosha, my knowledge, my ascertainment. And finally the Anandamaya Kosha, I'm happy, I'm unhappy. So this is how you do the analysis from outer to inner. And finally you say you are the Sakshi of all of them. You are none of those because they are seen, you are the seer. So this is one prakriya. Got it? Okay. What is the second aspect of this prakriya? The same prakriya, but what is the second aspect? You look at the samashti, the macrocosmic aspect of it, tatpada vachya. So there you do a very similar kind of a prakriya. How? You say Prithvi. If you want to look at it from the grossest to the subtlest, Prithvi means the earth, something solid. And from there you say, next one is Jalam, water. The next one is Agni, fire. The next one is Vayu, the air. And finally it is Akasha. And so you do that, and just like you did Panchakosha, here you do the Panchamahabhuta. So you do all these 5 great elements that constitute the entire universe. So one constitutes you and I as the individual body-mind complex, and the other one is the one that includes the whole universe. And then you say that there is Ishvara, Paramatma, from where all these things are born, and to which it's kind of like a Sakshi, just like you and I are individual Sakshi, there is a Sakshi of the entire creation. So you see in this Prakriya, I'm just simply describing the first Prakriya. So in this first Prakriya, which is the one that is used in Panchadashi, in Vichara Sagar, and a few other places, you first divide it into Tvampada and Tatpada. And both of them, you say there is a Sakshi for both of them. Finally, you put them together and says that Sakshi and this Sakshi are one and the same. There's only one consciousness. You cannot have 2 separate consciousness. Consciousness is never a Vishaya. It is always a Vishayi. And so, in this Prakriya, you divide up the Tvampada and Tatpada separately and then bring them together in the end. This is one Prakriya. Now we come to the second Prakriya, which is the one that is used in Karika. That is, you don't wait to merge them together until the end. You do it at every step. What do you mean by that? That means that the Annamaya Kosha of the Tvampada Vachya and the Prithvi of the Tatpada Vachya are the one and the same. See that? So the Tatpada and Tvampada at every stage, in fact, it is the truth that my body is really nothing but a modified form of Prithvi. It came from the Prithvi and it's going to go back to the Prithvi. Right now it's just moving around as a separate entity, but it is not. So also in the whole creation, there is in fact a aikyam, there is a non-difference between Tatpada and Tvampada. Every stage is the same. This is a very important thing that we are going to focus on as we proceed. the implication of the second prakriya is this. The two of them are really the same, and the sakshi for both of them is the same. This is what is called, so I will take this up in more detail in the Tuesday class, next Tuesday. This is what is called Eka Jiva Vada. The first prakriya was, for a while it is Aneka Jiva Vada. In the end, it has to be proven to be Eka Jiva Vada. In the second prakriya, which is used in the Mandukya and Karika by Gaudapadacharya ji, is in fact merge them in the very beginning. And in fact, there is always a single sakshi. There's no necessity to bring them together. It was never different to begin with. It's only Eka Jiva Vada. In the explanation of the Mandukya, in the Karika, this has enormous implications. So I'm very happy that, and then Swami Akhandananda ji will explain this step by step in the consolidation aspect of it. But the vision was very nicely put together in the explanation of this particular verse, that these two prakriyas are there, and which prakriya does Gaudapadacharya ji uses, that one is given very clearly, and that's the one we are going to follow. So with that, let me close the class today, and then the explanation of the Eka Jiva Vada, I'll do that a little bit more clearly, not clearly, but consolidate that in the next class, under Tuesday night class, and then also go over into the Chatushpad. So that will be in the next class. So until then, let's close this class. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So nice to see you all. Anjali, it's good to see you. Haven't seen you for a while in the class. Maybe you are not signed in before. And nice to see you also. And everyone else. All right. I don't see any questions from you. I'll just wait for another half a minute to see. Yeah, and this on this Tuesday night class versus the Saturday class. I mean, one can look at it as glass half full versus glass half empty. Yes, in some ways it may be difficult for 100 plus people to follow it because they don't have the time. On the other hand, at least 60, 65 of you did find the time to look at both classes. And I think as we proceed further, you will see a sense of continuity uh, and repetition and consolidation, more than repetition, consolidation will be very good. So I continue to feel that what I would like you to do is review the notes of the class before the class begins, so that it'll become much more effective for you. All right, with that, I take your leave and hopefully we'll see you next time. Hari Om.